Violence in David's family, Tamar, Amnon, and Absalom. Chapter 13. Amnon disgraces Tamar. David had a beautiful daughter named Tamar, who was the sister of Absalom. She was also the half-sister of Amnon, who fell in love with her, but Tamar was a virgin, and Amnon could not think of a way to be alone with her. He was so upset about it that he made himself sick. Amnon had a friend named Jonadab, who was the son of David's brother Shimei. Jonadab always knew how to get what he wanted, and he said to Amnon, "What's the matter? You are the king's son. You shouldn't have to go around feeling sorry for yourself every morning." Amnon said, "I'm in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." Jonadab told him, "Lie down on your bed and pretend to be sick. When your father comes to see you, ask him to send Tamar so you can watch her cook something for you. Then she can serve you the food." So Amnon went to bed and pretended to be sick. The king came to see him. Amnon said, "Please ask Tamar to come over. She can make some special bread while I watch, and then she can serve me the bread." David told Tamar, "Go over to Amnon's house and prepare him some food." When she got there, he was lying in bed. She mixed the dough, made the loaves, and baked them while he watched it. Then she took the bread out of the pan and put it on his plate, but he refused to eat it. Amnon said, "Send the servants out of the house." After they had gone, he said to Tamar, "Serve the food in my bedroom." Tamar picked up the bread that she had made and brought it into Amnon's bedroom. But as she was taking it over to him, he grabbed her and said, "Come to bed with me." She answered, "No, please don't force me. This sort of thing isn't done in Israel. It's too disgusting. Think of me. I'll be disgraced forever. And think of yourself. Everyone in Israel will say you're nothing but a load of rubbish. Just ask the king and he will let you marry me." Amnon would not listen to what she said. He was stronger than she was, so he overpowered her and raped her. Then Amnon hated her even more than he had loved her before. So he told her, "Get up and get out." She said, "Don't send me away. That would be worse than what you have already done." But Amnon would not listen. He called in his servant and said, "Throw this woman out and lock the door." The servant made her leave, and he locked the door behind her. The king's unmarried daughters used to wear long robes with sleeves. Tamar tore the robe she was wearing and put ashes on her head. Then she covered her face with her hands and cried loudly as she walked away. Absalom kills Amnon. Tamar's brother Absalom said to her, "How could Amnon have done such a terrible thing to you? But since he's your brother, don't tell anyone what happened. Just try not to think about it." Tamar soon moved into Absalom's house, but she was always sad and lonely. When David heard what had happened to Tamar, he was very angry, but Amnon was his eldest son and also his favorite, and David would not do anything to make Amnon unhappy. Absalom treated Amnon as though nothing had happened, but he hated Amnon for what he had done to his sister Tamar. 2 years later, Absalom's servants were cutting wool from his sheep in Baal Hazor, near the town of Ephraim, and Absalom invited all the king's sons to be there. Then he went to David and said, "My servants are cutting the wool from my sheep. Please come and join us." David answered, "No, my son, we won't go. It would be too expensive for you." Absalom tried to get him to change his mind, but David did not want to go. He only said that he hoped they would have a good time. Absalom said, "If you won't go, at least let my brother Amnon come with us." David asked, "Why should he go with you?" But Absalom kept on insisting, and finally David let Amnon and all his other sons go with Absalom. Absalom prepared a banquet fit for a king. But he told his servants, "Keep an eye on Amnon. When he gets a little drunk from the wine and is feeling good, I'll give the signal, then kill him. I've commanded you to do it, so don't be afraid. Be strong and brave." Absalom's servants killed Amnon, just as Absalom had told them. The rest of the king's sons quickly rode away on their mules to escape from Absalom. While they were on their way to Jerusalem, someone told that "Absalom has killed all your sons. Not even one is left." David got up, and in his sorrow he tore his clothes and lay down on the ground. His servants remained standing, but they tore their clothes too. Then David's nephew Jonadab said, "Your Majesty, not all your sons were killed. Only Amnon is dead." On the way that Amnon raped Tamar. Absalom decided to kill him. Don't worry about the report that all your sons were killed. Only Amnon is dead, and Absalom has run away. One of the guards noticed a lot of people coming along the hillside on the road to Horonaim. He went and told the king, I saw some men coming along Horonaim road. Jonadab said, Your Majesty, look, here come your sons now, just as I told you. No sooner had he said it than David's sons came in. They were weeping out loud, and David and all his officials cried just as loudly. David was sad for a long time because Amnon was dead. David lets Absalom come home. Absalom had run away to Geshur, where he stayed for 3 years with King Talmai, the son of Amihud. David still felt so sad over the loss of Amnon that he wanted to take his army there and capture Absalom. Chapter 14. Joab knew that David couldn't stop thinking about Absalom, and he sent someone to bring in the wise woman who lived in Tekoa. Joab told her, Put on funeral clothes and don't use any makeup. Go to the king and pretend you have spent a long time mourning the death of a loved one. Then he told her what to say. The woman from Tekoa went to David. She bowed very low and said, Your Majesty, please help me. David asked, What's the matter? She replied, My husband's dead and I am a widow. I had 2 sons, but they got into a fight out in a field where there was no one to pull them apart, and one of them killed the other. No, now all my relatives have come to me and said, Hand over your son. We are going to put him to death for killing his brother. But what they really want is to get rid of him, so they can take over our land. Please don't let them put out my only flame of hope. There won't be anyone left on this earth to carry on my husband's name. Go home, David told her. I'll take care of this matter for you. The woman said, I hope your decision doesn't cause any problems for you, but if it does, you can blame me. He said, If anyone gives you any trouble, bring them to me, and it won't happen again. Please, she replied, swear by the Lord your God that no one will be allowed to kill my son. He said, I swear by the living Lord that no one will touch even a hair on his head. Then she asked, Your Majesty, may I say something? Yes, he answered. The woman said, Haven't you been hurting God's people? Your own son had to leave the country, and when you judged it in my favor, it was the same as admitting that you should have let him come back. We each must die and disappear like water poured out on the ground. But God doesn't take our lives. Instead, He finds ways of bringing us back when we run away. Your Majesty, I came here to tell you about my problem because I was afraid of what someone might do to me. I decided to come to you because I thought you could help. In fact, I knew that you would listen and save my son and me from those who want to take the land that God gave us. I can rest easy now that you have given your decision. You know the difference between right and wrong, just like an angel of God, and I pray that the Lord your God will be with you. Then David said to the woman, Now I am going to ask you a question, and don't try to hide the truth. The woman replied, Please go ahead, Your Majesty. David asked, Did Joab put you up to this? The woman answered, Your Majesty, I swear by your life that no one can hide the truth from you. Yes, Joab did tell me what to say, but only to show you the other side of this problem. You must be as wise as the angel of God to know everything that goes on in this country. David turned to Joab and said, It seems that I have already given my decision. Go and bring Absalom back. Joab bowed very low and said, Your Majesty, I thank you for giving your permission. It shows that you approve of me. Joab went to Geshur to get Absalom, but when they came back to Jerusalem, David told Joab, I don't want to see my son Absalom. Tell him to stay away from me. So Absalom went to his own house without seeing his father. Absalom was handsome. No one in all Israel was as handsome and well-built as Absalom. He got his hair cut once a year, and when the hair was weighed, it came to over 2 kilograms. Absalom had 3 sons. He also had a daughter named Tamar who grew up to be very beautiful. Absalom finally sees David. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years without seeing his father. He wanted Joab to talk to David for him. So one day he sent a message asking Joab to come over, but Joab refused. Absalom sent another message, but Joab still refused. Finally, Absalom told his servants, Joab's barley field is next to mine. Go and set it on fire. And they did. Joab went to Absalom's house and demanded, Why did your servant set my field on fire? Absalom answered, You didn't pay any attention when I sent for you. I want you to ask my father why he told me to come back from Geshur. I was better off there. I want to see my father now. If I'm guilty, let him kill me. So went to David and told him what Absalom had said. David sent for Absalom, and Absalom came. He bowed very low, and David leaned over and kissed him.